Do you feel like you just can't stay healthy mentally or physically while working at home as an artist? Are you constantly distracted with food, TV, or your phone? Are you losing motivation to go outside, even when it's a beautiful day? Well, I've been there. Uh, Being an artist and working from home can be super rewarding, but also very isolating and sometimes depressing. There are many professions that allow and require remote work, but in this podcast, I'll be coming from the artistic side just because that's what my experience is from. A lot of what I'll be talking about can definitely be applied to all remote workers, though. And I'll go as far as to say the things I'll be talking about today can be applied to people that are in-house and that are working hybrid roles. It's just a matter of how the work-life balance is affecting us as a human. So I'm going to be breaking this podcast up into 4 different areas: physical health, mental health, social health, and then learning how to reward yourself. So we got to talk about the first 3 before we get to the last one. So when it comes to the physical health part, working out, walking, do you have a schedule? So when I talk about working out, I don't mean being like Ronnie Coleman, Jay Cutler, being those bodybuilders, that take steroids. Like, no, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about a healthy workout routine to where you are physically going somewhere, lifting weights, doing some form of strenuous activity. Whether you're a beginner, intermediate, or advanced weightlifter, it doesn't matter. Are you doing it? And the second part of that is, do you have a schedule for it? Now, as an artist, the reason this is important to us is because remote work we are used to. And that means that we stay at home a lot. So if you don't have a home gym, you don't have any weights of any kind at home, it's important to do some form of exercise because we need to feel better physically so that we can perform mentally. And then it's vice versa. It does coincide with feeling better mentally, and I'll get into that for the second part, which is mental health. But for me, I get up at between 5:30 a.m. and 6 a.m. every day. All right, so I share custody with my children, so 1 week on, 1 week off. So even when I'm 1 week on, I make sure that I get up with my kids. They're out the door at 7 a.m. That's the plan. They're off to daycare, so I can head to the gym immediately after daycare. Okay, and it's still even before 8 a.m. Okay, so most people's work days don't start until 9 or even 10:30. Okay, so on the days that I do have them, it's the same routine that I give myself. Out the door at 7. On the days that I don't have them, doesn't matter. I get up at 5:30. I have my caffeinated beverages. I don't drink coffee, so a lot of people drink coffee. So I have my caffeinated beverages. I try to stay away from energy drinks, but pre-workout does the job when I'm going to the gym. That's plenty of caffeine for me. And then I get to the gym and start working out by 7:30. It's a rigid plan that I give myself. Now, those of you listening don't have to follow this plan. You may be getting up at 7:30 and then going to the gym at 8. Okay. Just stick to a plan. Just give yourself a plan. So I make sure that I go at least 4 days a week. Now, they say 3 to maintain a healthy body. I like to push it a little more just because I like lifting weights. It's been a big part of my life for decades now, just exercise in general. 6 days a week is ideal, but you gotta rest. So that's one aspect of staying healthy, work-life balance. The second part to the physical health from working out is eating well. Now, some of you may have kids, some of you may not. If you do have children, then your food choices in your house change drastically. You will find yourself snacking a lot more than you would if you just lived by yourself. So for me, and I've caught myself many times snacking, I got two boys, so obviously our appetites are big. Pretzels, veggie sticks, small muffins, bagels, cereal with a lot of sugar. Right now they absolutely love eating Kellogg's Corn Flakes, Frosted, Cinnamon Toast Crunch. Stuff that tastes super good and that you can eat 3 helpings of, especially if you're an adult and you're hungry. You have to keep yourself in check. And I know it's hard, especially when we work at home and the kitchen is right behind us. We can just go eat. And it's a lot easier said than done, but try your best to eat as much protein as possible when you're working. Protein will actually help keep your stomach from needing more food. And I know this is super incredibly boring to say, but water really does work. And I know it's boring, it doesn't have a flavor, or does it? We want to drink pop, quote unquote soda. We want to drink all these cool things with energy and flavors. Most of those have sugar anyway. Try to keep it down to a minimum. And a thing that has helped me, focus. So I actually draw better when I'm on an empty stomach, believe it or not. It's the craziest thing, because when we eat, especially a lot of carbs, it makes us feel sluggish and slow, and we don't think normally. This is why a lot of, I'm going to use bodybuilders as an example, but this is why a lot of bodybuilders go to the gym while fasting. So if you fast, you clear your mind of needing food and having a lot of carbs in your stomach to make you feel heavy and bloated. So when you're drawing, your mind is not clouded by your body chemistry trying to process all the food that you just ate. So if you do need something small in the morning, I really like eating the small bars that you can get, like protein bars. Lara bars are some of my favorite things to eat. My kids love them too. But it helps you think. So where am I going with this? When you eat, like let's say you come back from the gym and you're going to get started on your artwork, your freelancing, or your full-time job, whatever you're doing at home. Okay, eat your breakfast and then wait 3 to 4 hours before you eat again. Just drink water in between it. You're going to find yourself feeling so much clearer in your head, and you actually produce better art that way, because your mind is connecting with your hand in a different way than it would on an empty stomach. If you don't believe me, try it. Now, I will say there is a difference between fasting during the day and doing the job and being hangry, cranky and hungry. That's different. Usually we're hangry when we didn't really eat well during the day anyway, and our stomach feels a little different. Like it's actually angry with you that it doesn't have food versus it could use food right now. Okay, so the third thing about the physical health part, you got to get up. You have to take breaks. Our lumbar support system in our back, our upper back, our posture, all of that is suffering greatly because we just don't get up. We don't sit up. You have to sit up straight. You don't have to. I mean, this isn't a drill. I'm simply saying that you need to physically move around to give yourself a break so that when you come back, you feel better physically sitting in that position to perform a task. Because pain can override your desire to do stuff. Okay, we've all been there when we have a nagging pain in our neck, especially our trapezius muscles when we're painting in Photoshop for 8 hours straight and we haven't gotten up. We haven't even gone to the bathroom, even though we knew we should have gone pee 3 hours ago and we still haven't. And then our butt hurts, our back, the backs of our thighs hurt, and we still haven't stood up. And you have to, in order to reset your brain, you got to recalibrate your body. This is why it's very, very important to drink water to keep your muscles hydrated while you're doing your work. And I will say, to couch that conversation a little bit, having a nice office chair really helps. It helps. And I'll get into that for the mental aspect of work-life balance. Okay, so take breaks, especially if it's a nice, beautiful, sunny afternoon. It's 75 degrees out. Just go outside for 15 minutes and just breathe in the air, walk around the block a little bit, walk down to the convenience store and, I don't know, buy some water or some Gatorade or just something. Or just, walk around the block, say hi to folks, change the scenery a little bit. The other thing I want to talk about is the water and the caffeine. It's okay in certain doses. So we've all been there where we have multiple energy drinks on our desk. Okay, I remember in college, my classmates, one of them's sister was a regional rep for Red Bull. And we actually had a Red Bull fridge in our studio, our senior studio. At the time, I didn't really consume a lot of Red Bull. But over time, you better believe that more and more Red Bull was being delivered to that room. And we were drinking 2-3 bottles a night. And, it's okay to have one energy drink per day. There's nothing wrong with that. Excuse me. It's just when you don't counterbalance it with enough water. You have to drink more water than the soda or the energy drinks that you're taking in, because it's unhealthy. It's bad for your heart. You're going to crash, and then you're going to feel worse than you did when you were tired without caffeine. So you have to be careful. I know there's a lot of, differing opinions from doctors and health gurus about how much water to drink, like 8 glasses of water, all that. It is important to at least drink 6 to 8 glasses of water a day. Now, I'm not a doctor, so please don't quote me on that. But you have to drink enough water so that your body flushes out all the toxins that the energy drinks produce that you don't need. Okay, you took in the taurine, you took in the caffeine. Okay, those stimulants are what you need. Drinking coffee has never been a part of my life. My entire family has always drank coffee. All my friends drink coffee. I can't stand this stuff. I don't know why. I just can't. I like the smell. I just don't like the taste. And we'll get back into the physical health in a little bit. But the next thing I want to talk about, work-life balance as a concept artist or an illustrator or an artist at home. Phone distractions. Okay, so one method that I heard a very well-known artist use, Jama Jerbaev, he said that he used to have a problem with checking his social media way too much while trying to get work done during the day. It's very easy to start drawing and start painting and knowing you got a deadline, but you just got to check Instagram and TikTok and Facebook and Twitter and, oh my gosh, I got my LED light on my phone is lighting up. I better check who texted me. And you'd be surprised at how much more time you spend on your phone than you do actually working. So you could do 2 things. One, shut that off or hide it. Okay, so just say hide it. Or do what Jama did, and I'm sure many others are doing this, is that you give yourself 20-minute intervals. what that means is you're going to spend 20 minutes, you're going to spend 20 minutes working, and then you're going to spend 20 minutes taking a break, checking your social media, doing whatever. And then you're going to put your phone down and work for 20 minutes straight and no distractions. And then you're going to put your phone down for 20 minutes. So within any given hour, you're going to put in a minimum of a good 40 minutes of work. Now, it's a start. We eventually want to get to the point where we just don't need to know what's going on in the world while we get our work done. Okay, now I freely admit I still do it from time to time. Distractions are plenty when you work at home. Okay, which brings me to my next point. If at all possible, and I know this is not possible with everybody, if you can separate your office space from your bedroom or your kitchen, it does wonders for your psychology of working at home. Now, a lot of you may work in a studio apartment where you just can't help it. Okay, everything is in one giant room. That's fine. You can still work to separate those areas. You can buy partitions. You can get some pretty decent partitions off Amazon for under $100, or you can get the more sturdy ones that look nicer for $100 or over. Okay, ones that like fold out, they have locks and all that. And I don't mean to go to Office Depot and buy those fancy, desk partitions that they have in corporate offices. No, that's not what I'm saying. I feel like separating your work from your home life is crucial, because you want to be able to compartmentalize that part. Okay, so working from 9 to 5 or 10 to 7, whatever your schedule permits, that's important so that you have a space to relax. It's super easy to get very tired when you have the 2 o'clock blues, you don't have your energy drink, and your bed is right behind you, and you just pass out. And then you just wasted 2.5, 3 hours. Now, what's even a better scenario, and if you are financially capable of doing this, actually renting out an office space that is nowhere near your home, or close to home, but it's still, you got to drive to it or walk to it. That's like a pretty ideal setup. So if you have that, that's pretty awesome, because then you feel like you're going to a professional setting to perform a professional task, and that helps your mental health. Okay, so the other thing I want to talk about for mental health is watching shows and movies. Okay, and some people can handle this better than others. So when I was in college, I remember I supplied the DVDs mostly. So we had a stack of DVDs on my desk, and when you're in your 20s, it's much easier to stay up late. You don't really have as many worries in the world as you do in your 40s. No children, you're not married. You just want to go to school and complete the task. Okay, so you're up until 3 or 4 a.m. depending on what you want to get done. We were in studio in industrial design, just sketching cars, because I was in transportation studio. And I had a stack of DVDs. I had a subwoofer system. And sometimes we would just put the DVD straight into the projector and project movies right on the wall as we were drawing. And there were some students that could not handle that. I later apologized for distracting them like that, but we loved it. And we still got work done. Well, it's harder now that you're older because your priorities are different. You have to get this done. I know a lot of concept artists that will have movies going as background noise, but they're not actually turning to watch the movie. So it helps if you've seen it multiple times. Or one thing that I like to do is if I'm watching Netflix or Sling TV or something on my phone and my television is off, I like to prop up my phone directly in front of me and lean it against my monitor so that my eyes do not drift too far away. I don't have to physically turn my head. I can just draw and then just glance down and watch the movie and look back up and draw. And it also helps that if the subject matter that I'm drawing matches the movie I'm watching. It's the same thing with listening to music while you work. Now, I'm a big electronic music head. I mean, I've been listening to electronic music since I was 12. Okay, I'm in my 40s and early 40s now. I've been listening to it a long time. So, techno music has always helped me. It pretty much helps me draw creatures, characters, props, vehicles, environments, doesn't matter. So if you're drawing some sci-fi setting, hey, put Blade Runner on. If you're drawing a horror setting, put something scary on, like if it deals with demons, ghosts, goblins, whatever. Fantasy based, I mean, heck, there's a lot of fantasy movies out there. So that really helps. Get yourself into the professional mood. Just make sure everything is relevant to what you're doing. All right, so the third thing I want to talk about in mental health, writing down daily goals, weekly goals, and monthly goals. I can't stress this enough. The most successful artists out there set a goal ahead of time so they can reach that one goal. So everything that happened in between was just a slight detour, a slight little bump in the road maybe, but ultimately they got to that end goal. So if you're just kind of blindly accepting freelance and you don't really know what you're doing, you gotta set your standards so that you feel better about yourself and about what you're trying to accomplish. All right. If you want to be a freelance artist and you want to work remotely, it's hard. It's hard if you don't have a plan. If you do have a plan, then it becomes a little easier until one day it clicks. It's like, oh, I see that the networking I did, the displaying my artwork online that I did, and commenting on people's work, that helped. Okay, but writing down your goals, and it doesn't have to be something as crazy as, got to get a job at a AAA studio next week. I better learn how to draw now. I'm sorry. It doesn't work like that. Okay, it's okay to take baby steps. All right, especially if you're young, like if you're in your late teens, early 20s, and you're hesitant about going to college because of student loans, and you don't really know where it's going yet. Just know that it's still possible. Okay. All right, and then the next thing I want to talk about is budgeting. So budgeting is another part of your mental aspect that you have to take care of, because money is a huge problem when it comes to your mental health and working from home. And I can attest to this because I was just laid off in the beginning of June, and I'm working diligently hard to contact as many places as I can, work my social networking, find contacts that I've worked with in the past, and it's coming together. I'm feeling better about it, but you have to do that. And you have to assess the situation, especially if you're not making a lot of money or you feel like you need to be making more money than you are right now. Being the artist that you are, set your budget, find out what you will owe at the end of the month, see what bills are automatically taken out of your checking account. And by having this accountability in place, you're going to feel so much better about doing what you love. Because a lot of times when we as artists just need money badly, we accept any job, even if it does not help our portfolios. So then you aren't really progressing, you're just kind of skating by. And I understand, I've been in the situations before where there are some desperate moments, and you start accepting jobs that you know you're going to hate, but you have no choice in doing. Okay? I will say never accept free work, ever. When you are in a financial bind, it doesn't matter, don't accept free work, because that could be a time slot that you could be using to earn money while you're doing what you love, and that's drawing and creating art. And I think budgeting is another podcast that I'm going to get into, because it seems that like talking about money is taboo. So being transparent about that is very important. So that'll be a later podcast. And last but not least, about mental health. Children. Okay. Do you have kids? Are you single without kids? This might help you. So, like I said, I have joint custody with my kids, 1 week on, 1 week off. And when you have children, your responsibility is to be a good parent. And one of the ways that you can be a good parent is by providing for them. So, now that I'm an older man, I've learned to put my priorities in check, and I approach my art differently than I did when I was in my 20s and 30s. 20s and 30s were the big experimental days. I'm just going to draw this, I'm going to try this, I'm going to try that. If it doesn't work in my portfolio, I don't care, I'm just going to try this and that. Now I know exactly what I need to do. All right. And if you're a mother or a father listening to this, and you get stressed out and hey, let's say that you can't afford daycare and your kids have to stay home with you while you work. That's a different ball game. And I sympathize with that because I've been there also. I will say that if you keep your head honest, how should I put this? Okay, so if you think about it as I'm going to be a very good parent for my children and get my job done at the same time, give yourself some time slots throughout the day to where you're engaging both of them. Because there are times where you can catch yourself, I wouldn't say ignoring your kids, but you're spending a little bit too much time working and they're wondering where you are. They know where you are. They can physically see you sitting at your workstation. But what I'm saying is be present with them. Okay, so when you're trying to find work or you're trying to balance that, watching your kids at home and drawing and painting and consulting and doing that, just explain to them, if they're old enough to understand, that, hey, this is what mommy or daddy needs to do. Okay, can you please wait over there just for a little while I get this job done, and then I'll be over here at this time, and make sure that you're over there at that time. Okay. And that's really all I can say about that, because it's harder when kids are, under the age of 5 and they don't really understand time. When they're 5, they kind of start to get when you mean, I'll be there in a minute, I'll be there in 5 minutes, because they can't comprehend what a minute is. They think it's 80 days. Okay, they don't like it. And I'm not a child psychologist. I'm not, a family therapist, so I cannot give legal advice on that. I'm just saying these things out of personal experience from having a 5-year-old and a 3-year-old, both boys, on days when I have to work and they're home, like if it's a holiday and they can't go to daycare. I've been there, okay, and they're screaming and crying. I got a client call in 2 minutes. Yeah, so it's kind of rough. All right, so the next aspect and the 4 things that we're going to talk about today, social health. Okay, so there are 4 things in the social health that I'm going to talk about. Support, going out and just being around humans, being active online, and also sharing your work. Okay, so support in the social health is huge, huge, huge. Even if it's just one family member, having a support system is, just for the mental health is staggeringly important. Now, to be transparent, I've been through some rough patches. After I moved, I was married, I had beautiful children. I moved away from my family, and I have no family up here that, or all my friends are back at home. So you got to make sure that you keep in touch then with family and friends. Because even if you're an artist and you live remotely somewhere, like way out in the boonies, okay, make sure you keep your friends close to you, whether it's dropping them a line, dropping them a text here and there and be like, hey, how's it going? Just to keep that open line of communication going. This is why it's so important to be active online, because a lot of times we find, for lack of a better term, social ease when we're online around like-minded people, and then we could just talk to them. That helps a lot. Like-minded people that love designing creepy critters or cool-looking dragons or anim or some kind of really cool art form. That helps. And your support system, even if it means that you're calling a family member once a month or twice a month, if you can call your parents or your sister, your brother, or cousins once a week, that's great. I'm involved in several text messaging lines that have been going on for years. Like I've been texting today in a texting link that has been going on for years with buddies from college. It's like way back in 2003 and 4. It's over 20 years ago. Okay, and we went on co-ops together. We've had a lot of experience together. Then I have another text line with friends outside of college. So that's another 3 or 4 people that I'm very grateful for having in my life. And then of course I have a text line with my sister and my mom, and I call my dad. So it's important. It's important to be able to talk to somebody, because being isolated, working 12 hours a day with your curtains drawn and the dark sets in, you haven't eaten, you're hungry, your neck hurts, your back hurts, you feel like life is caving in. Having that support system around you is crucial. Sharing your work. Okay, so the social health part of work-life balance is sharing your work, because more eyes on your work means you are staying relevant. You could be making amazing work and you're just awful at showing yourself. And it's not showing off. It's, you are your brand, especially if you're a freelance artist that you act as a company. You're an LLC, or you have a big client list, and those clients couldn't have found you unless you were present online, especially with like ArtStation and LinkedIn and Polycount, places like that. Sharing your work online, you will be surprised at the types of jobs that may come up, and I'm not talking about just one-off commissions. I'm talking about big-time salary positions. The jobs that I have gotten, the big jobs, have come off of ArtStation private messages, LinkedIn private messages, and maybe 1 or 2 on Instagram. So it does work. Okay, last but not least, we're going to talk about rewarding yourself. All right, that's important. All right, you want to be able to reward yourself for doing a good job at what you love. And I know a lot of times when we're sitting there at our home office, we're wearing the same shirt we had on yesterday. We haven't taken a shower in 3-4 days maybe. We haven't been eating well. We're not sitting up. Our posture's bad. We know that it's pretty outside. We just don't want to go outside because it's kind of depressing. You don't really know what to do. That might deter you from wanting to do anything. But when you set goals, so we're kind of rounding back to what we were talking about in the beginning, setting goals. When you set goals and you achieve those goals, little by little, you're going to start to feel better about yourself, because you're going to convince yourself that you're capable of actually doing it. Okay? And it feels really good when you're trying to find work and you actually get a bite and you perform the task very well from a pretty well-known client. and it gets published, maybe in a book, maybe your design gets chosen for a game, and you have that in your credit, that's awesome. Go buy something for yourself. Okay. And I'm going to say clothing helps immensely. And I'm not saying that to be general. I'm talking about personal experience. I've recently gone through a divorce, and being a man, you don't want to feel emasculated. You don't want to feel like the world is caving in. So I did the exact opposite. I kind of reinvented my wardrobe, and I made sure I wasn't a 42-year-old man dressing like a college student anymore. I felt and dressed like a man. I smell better. I have much better hygiene now. And if you're a girl listening to this, same thing. Okay, maybe you're going through a breakup. Maybe you're kind of feeling depressed, like you just don't know where to go. Okay, so when you set those goals and you achieve those goals, reward yourself, even if it's a small daily goal. Like, I'm going to draw 7 dragon heads today. After you draw 7 dragon heads, go treat yourself to Max Burger or some kind of restaurant that's near you. Okay, and don't reward yourself unless you do those goals. Okay, be like, you know what, if I do a good job with this client and they like what I did, and they congratulate me, and they pay me and doing all that, I'm going to treat myself to a movie that I've been wanting to see. I'm going to actually go to the theater to see it. I'm not going to sit home on Netflix. I'm going to give myself the experience. Just me. Okay? You don't need a date. Just me. There's no shame in that. Go treat yourself when you do something good. Okay? And again, I'm coming from the artistic side, so those of you listening that are doing some kind of other profession, like financing, web development, whatever, doesn't matter. Same thing applies. Okay, and these rewards could be clothing, video games, eating out, like in a cool movie, like I stated. And I want to say something about video games, because there's this weird belief, especially with younger folks, that if you want to get in the video game industry, shouldn't you be playing a lot of video games? Yes, but you should be knowledgeable of those games. However, playing those video games is not your job. When you actually get a job in a AAA studio, that is your job. Okay, especially if you're a concept artist, designing all the cool stuff that you have been playing for years. Okay, I was an avid Halo player for almost 20 years, and I was pretty good. I wasn't pro, but I can definitely hang with them. And I felt like, well, shouldn't I just, keep playing while I'm doing my art? And I realized that my leveling up in art suffered because more hours went into playing games. And if I didn't level up on my art, I wouldn't be hired by the studios needing artists to make stuff that goes into the games that I love playing. That's where it comes from. That's what I'm trying to say. So, like, if you do a really good job by setting goals, maybe like a weekly goal. So I'm going to do these 3 things for my personal project and my portfolio. And when I finish them on a Friday, I'm going to spend Saturday and Sunday playing video games and eating pizza. Hell yeah, go for it. That's what I'm talking about. That's a reward. So, I could go another 2 hours with this podcast, and I'm obviously not going to do that. And another thing that I don't normally ask anybody to do, but for this particular podcast, I do ask that you share this. Okay, I'm not asking you to like it. I'm not asking you to subscribe. I'm just asking you to share, because a lot of people are getting laid off right now, and especially from the tech industry. The tech industry is just getting absolutely hammered. It seems that every time that I go on LinkedIn, which is daily, I see more and more people looking for work. and my head shakes. I'm like, man, we are getting destroyed. There is light at the end of the tunnel. There always is after massive layoff periods, but we are at the mercy of the market and what big corporations want to do with their money. Like, we have no control over that. And I ask you share this so more people can hear it. So maybe it'll help them feel better about it. So today was a little different. I got a later start this week because I was sick over the weekend. I don't know what I caught from one of my children, but I couldn't move, and that's rare for me. So it was. I feel much better now. I just wanted to get this off my chest. I felt like today was a good day to release a nice podcast. So thanks again for listening, folks. Please share this with your friends, and for people in particular that that maybe need to hear something like it. Okay, and thanks again, and comment below if you have some things that you want to share that maybe you're going through similar scenarios. I think that'll really help people. So thank you, and I will see you in the next video.